Hi, this is Reggie Gould, and this is a series on an old silver mine I explored over 50 years ago when I was a young man in high school. Very dangerous mine. But this mill is the first picture. Doesn't exist any longer. Not the fishing game, but the forestry decided to bulldoze it down because they thought it might be too dangerous for us and we might get hurt. So that piece of history is now missing. Had all the equipment in it, ball mills, shaker tables. Piece of mining history that they didn't bent on destroying in California. So unfortunately, this is one of two pictures that now remain at the Orange County Library, California. So anyway, you can see on the very up top or right, there's a guy sitting in the window. This mill is absolutely huge. So we'll move on to the next picture. This is the side of the mill, and just give you another perspective. Looks like it's kind of cobbled together. The thing goes all the way up the hill, clear up to where the tunnel is. They out it. They shovel the material out of the adit into various chutes and slides, and works its way to the ball mills where it's ground up, and then the shaker tables is where they finally get to. They have copper plates in there covered with mercury, and that's where they recover the gold. This is a picture of an old compressor that furnished the air for the air drills inside the mine. An old Buddha, Sullivan, I think it was a Buddha engine and a Sullivan compressor. Back in the 1800s, this was a very old piece of equipment. Last I heard is somebody pushed it over the hill, so they didn't get to bury that one. It's a picture of my friend Gov. His real name is Warren Lewis, and we called him Gov because Governor Lewis was the governor at that time, so we just nicknamed him Gov. But Gov's quite a man. And this is yours truly, and what could be said? I got my mining helmet on. That's an MP hat that we used to keep from conking my noggin. We couldn't afford regular mining helmets, so we went to the surplus store and bought old whatever we could find. And this is one of the flooded portals. There's a door at the very end you can't see, but unfortunately 3 years ago two teenagers, 18 and 19, tried to swim down underneath the water, and they got into bad air, and they both suffocated from bad air, which is a tragedy. So you want to stay out of these old mines unless you're with somebody that really knows what they're doing. This is Ralph Carpenter and Kyle. And this is the first trip we made up there, and I believe when you open that door, they had blasted that mine shut. Unfortunately, when they did that, they stopped the system from breathing, and there's bad air in the mine. So fortunately, the people that blasted that created a death trap. That's another picture of them. They're looking at a piece of ore there. Lots of ore everywhere with both gold and silver in it. We were all interested in geology, so we were looking at it to see what kind of pay grade we had. This is to the very right bottom is an air line which came from the compressor, fed air to the equipment, and of course also the tunnel. And up on the wall there, those white streaks, those are the load. That's the quartz material, which has your pay streak of both gold and silver in it. So pretty rich material they had there. Again, this is another picture of that adit that was flooded where the teenagers died. A shame. This is a picture of the road. It's about an hour's walk up to this mine, and you climb up about probably 500 to 800 feet road's pretty tough, not drivable, walking road only. This is Ralph Carpenter. When we first started this mine, we were using flashlights. Get into that later, when not to use flashlights when doing that. You can see up above the airline, top and bottom. It's hard to see, but in the very rear of the center of the picture, there's an adit there going into a mine, and I believe the thing was closed with dynamite. So you couldn't get in there, but there was a lot of old relics and stuff, mining stuff that were there to do. Here's another adit to the mine. There's a little building around the adit, and that's when we were in. We were sitting down cooling off, and Rattlesnake had crawled in there to get cool too, and he didn't know we were in there, so he didn't like sharing it with a rattler. Now another picture to the very right is an ore chute. Flash bulb kind of messed it up. This was a long time ago. This was in the 50s, and they didn't have these strobe cameras. This is a little $2 brownie camera with little detachable flat bulbs that you have to put in, and it was all we could do for just a 120 film for this camera and the flash bulbs. And this is just a shot of where we started. My car is clear down to the very bottom of this, so it's a hell of a hike up there. Very rugged terrain and very remote. Very few people up in this part of the world up here. And this is behind where he's is the entrance that we found into the mine. Everything's closed except when you're professionals like us, we know how to find these things. And next picture I'll show you how we got into this thing. Okay, this is a tree root above it. There's a little hole probably 2 feet diameter. It couldn't have been snakes or anything in there, black widow spiders, whatever. Anyway, we dropped in there into actually a mine tunnel. Why they didn't pop it out to the side, I don't know. They came up, but anyway, this is the only entrance that we could find into the whole complex. Bad because the tunnel wasn't breathing. There was bad air in there. Hard to see in this picture, but there's a little hole to crawl in there to surrounding rock had been caving in, so it was really not a good place to go, but that's what we did. We were young and stupid, wouldn't do it today. This is me with my flashlight and MP helmet, and somebody had actually put some ties in here, some track, and they were trying to later on take out some material and possibly reopen the mine, but I guess it petered out because they never went on with it. This was a big discovery inside the mine, as we must have found 20 ore cars in there. And when they closed the mine, they closed it because when we went on the gold standard, the price of silver bottom fell out, so they just walked away from the mine. Everything was inside the mine, and this is one of the old ore cars we had to squeeze by. And this is me. This time I got a little smarter and I bought a carbide light, which is in my right hand there. Long story behind that, but the first trip our flashlights went dead when we were in the bowels of the mine. Almost died down there. So this is the second trip into the mine. A little smarter. We got a carbide lamp. And for some reason it looks like my car's in there twice. It's a picture of Gov, and he's standing next to an ore chute. It's kind of hard to see, but the ore chute there is by to the left of him. They just see him standing there. And ore chutes, of course, from a stope up above where they were working, they dumped it into the ore cars. And then eventually they would go over to the mill and dump it out. So there's a series of these tunnels. There must be probably 20 levels, and we went through every level up there in that mine. We spent probably 8 hours in just this mine. A little better shot of the ore chute. a lot of the dynamited material. You can see the track right there at the bottom of his feet. The ore chute is to the left. It's probably a farther away shot. And this is me looking at the ore chute. So you still see the track in the bottom. They didn't even try to pull out the track. There's probably a couple miles of track in that tunnel, but you never get it out because the entrances are all blasted shut. Anyway, I'm in there looking, and we ended up crawling up these ore chutes so we could get up to the next level. This is one of the ore chutes. That board in the top was what regulated the rock. You slide that down and let the rock go into the ore car. And when I climbed up, the bottom broke off and ended up on my back. These are probably 60, 70 years old, so the wood was all rotten and wet. And not the smartest move, but we did get up to another level of above. And this is a dramatic scene here. One at the bottom, they added a couple boards there to make it look a little more drastic than it was. But I can tell you, landing on hard rock, dropping about 5 feet under that railroad track didn't help me too much. And this is a sad scene. This is Gov crawling in this little hole, and the other side was a tunnel. It didn't go anywhere, and finally figured it out. That big rock he's crawling under was probably a cave-in. But when I went under here, I got stuck, so very, very sad story. These boots are mine. I went in on my back for some reason, and when I got stuck, my canteen hung up, and I got claustrophobic and got really, really panicky. I wrote an article, which I'll tell you about later, how you can get that article. Just another view of the same thing. You can see the shoring to the left. I still don't know why that hole wasn't bigger, because it was a full-size tunnel, unless somebody had maybe it just caved in on the other side. It's been 50 years ago, so memory's not that good. Okay, this is to the very left up there is a shoring box where they were trying to keep material from coming into the tunnel. And the right, there was a glory hole going down to a spot where they were pulling out, following the vein, taking a lot of material, gold and silver out of there. This is a picture of Gov. He's coming up that ore chute, and I'm sitting at the top looking down at him. And he's climbing up there with his pick buried into it to try to climb the thing, because they're probably about 10 feet long. Another picture of Gub, a lot of shoring in this mine. And this thing went that way probably for a couple 100 feet that way. The slope just went down and down and down and down into the bowels of the earth. Looks like a repeat of the same thing climbing the ore chute. This is like a little step ladder. They carve in little holes and put those boards in there so the miner can stand up there and work above it. They call that a stope or a rise. And he's investigating it to see where it goes. There was no ladder going to it, so it's pretty difficult to get up there. I don't know why we're getting duplications, but it appears to be the same shot. Okay, most of the rises had ladders in it, and this is Gov climbing the ladder, and he's probably 90 pounds soaking wet. And when I got up to where he was, all the rungs broke, and I ended up with splinters in my hand as I dropped about 10 feet to the very bottom. Took all the rungs out of the ladder. This was what I was trying to get to. There's you can see the boards up there. Those are to stand on. You get up there and you stand on those boards and do the drilling and what have you to put the blasting holes in for the dynamite. This was down at the bottom of the, over by the compressor when you first came in. It's hard to see, but there's a cable that goes clear up to the top, and there's a bucket underneath. And there's a real old gasoline engine, what they call them, Anyway, it drives that bucket up to the top. We get the ore out of that tunnel, bring it down, and then goes to another chute and ends up at the mill. This is at the very top where that bucket went, and that's where it came out of. That was the portal. Comes out of the mine, and the bucket was to the right there. And actually, that was a good spot because we found some track hidden in the bushes, and that led us to a mine they forgot to close. So that was a good find. This is Gov. He's standing there. The secret opening is behind him somewhere in those bushes. And I guess we just lucked upon it, but we did find a place that they didn't know about. They probably still don't know about. It's a little 2-foot hole to drop in there. Another picture of the hidden mine entrance there. And of course the bushes are all grown over it, so you have to know where it's at. I'm not going to tell anyone. And of course this is the root of the tree that we dropped into, that little hole there. It's kind of a danger dropping in it because you drop from the ceiling down into this tunnel. No ladders or anything. Could have went 20 feet down. It's hard to appreciate this hole, but this is actually looking down a vertical hole. I don't know how deep that thing was, but we threw rocks in it, and you could never hear them hit the bottom. They just glanced off the side, so I have no idea how deep this goes, but no ladders or anything in it. Good thing for us. It's a picture of when Mother Nature's moving around. It cracked that big beam like it was a toothpick, and the whole thing was down there. Everything had been shifting around. It was a flooded mine. It wasn't really a very good mine. It was a very unsafe mine. Well, this is another one of those boards you stand on there to work up at the top of the mine, chasing the rise, chasing the vein up there. This is a repeat of where he was coming up the ore chute. Another picture of the stope where they're going up to work, and with these old rickety ladders. Most of them were very unsafe, at least at my weight, because I was well over 100 pounds. And this is Gov. You can see that piece of wood to the left there is supposed to be half of it's eaten away. Really, it was insane for us to go down in these mines, but you're young, you feel invincible, so we thought. Well, I don't know what happened. This program cut off Gov's head for some reason. When I took the borders out, it trimmed him off. And this picture of Gov standing up on one of the rises up there, trying to see what they were working on. I tried to follow him up some of these. They had ladders going everywhere, and some of them really bad. They had used them so much that the center of the ladders wore apart. There's only probably like an inch of wood. That's why it broke away. They just they weren't eaten away. They were just worn away. I guess the miners are a little smaller than we are today. This picture of Ralph got a flashlight under his face there. He's trying to show. And this is the ore material that they were working. And this is just like a glory hole. It's a giant big hole that they work. The material down below is what they dynamited out. They put that in the ore cars and send it to the mill for processing. This is a picture of me. I managed to climb up the top of this little ledge of this, what we call a stope up there. And I've got my carbide lamp up in my hand up there. Another picture of me, and this is actually, it's on the outside of the mine. They just mined away all that material. It looks like a giant beaver went in there and clawed it away. And when we got lost in that mine, we didn't come out through the tree. We came out through here. So we came out an entirely different place. It never found us in there. And this is again a picture of the soap. I don't know why it's repeating, but and me standing there up on top of that ledge. There's another picture of me out there in the glory hole. And normally in the glory holes they just chew the whole spaced out. But here they had, looks like they'd just taken the oar and their waist were off. They just went around it like a gopher. Strange, very strange. Same glory hole, just a little farther away to give you kind of an idea of what it looks like. I'll tell you, when we got lost in that mine and we saw that light from down below there, it was like a beacon of hope. And the next picture probably will show you what we saw when we were coming up out of that mine after 2 hours. Another picture of me standing on the ledge. This glory hole was giant. It was probably a good 100 feet in diameter. Very unsafe because there's very little shoring in them, and they call them the ballrooms, and it was really a monster tunnel. Okay, here's what we saw after we were coming out with our flashlights that run out of batteries, and we just had a glow dim, and we saw this light coming up there, and we ran for it, and this is where the glory hole was. But this is an entirely different place where we came in. It was probably a good mile from where we started out. And this is the mill again, which no longer exists. If you want to read the story I wrote about this, you can see it on my website, www.gould, G-O-U-L-D, it's gouldeng.com. I'm sorry, www.gouldeng, Echo November Golf.com. I was going to give you my email. Anyway, at the very end of my website, the very bottom of the thing to the left, when you the banner on the website, it says, can't remember what it says, but anyway, there's also pictures of this mine, and there's about a 4-page story of how we got lost and almost died in there. So luckily we didn't die, we made it through it. But so that concludes it.